Here at MDRC, our post-secondary education team likes to advise program staff to think of using data as a flashlight. A data flashlight can illuminate how a program is operating and promote accountability and learning. In this video, we'll discuss how to determine which data elements are most illuminating and therefore worth collecting and using. We'll also explain how to create data review routines that help advance equity goals and make continuous program improvements. This video is the second in a two-part series that covers best practices in data management for student success. First, how should your student support team decide what data to collect? Start with the key components of your program. How does this program aim to support students? How can these programmatic inputs be measured? For example, if your program provides coaching to students, then you'd want to collect data about how often students meet with their coach. Next, list one or two of the primary goals of the program. What specifically is your program trying to help students achieve? Let's say your coaching program is designed to help students complete a degree or certificate within a certain period of time. On-time graduation would be your primary outcome. Finally, what intermediate steps should students take to help reach that goal? These data elements are used to monitor progress towards meeting the program's primary outcome. For example, if your primary outcome is on-time graduation, you would collect data about credits attempted and completed and semester-to-semester retention rates, since these are immediate steps to on-time graduation. You don't want to overwhelm yourself by measuring too many intermediate milestones. Focus on a handful of outcomes that are directly connected to your program's mission and goals. After your team has determined which data to collect, set concrete goals or benchmarks for each metric. A benchmark is a data-informed goal. For example, a coaching program's benchmark could be that at least 70% of the students in the program meet with their coach twice a month, at least 85% attempt 12 credits each semester, and at least 75% are retained from fall to spring semesters. We encourage teams to set realistic but ambitious benchmarks. One smart place to start is using historical data from previous years to understand past rates of retention, enrollment, or program engagement, for example. In an ideal world, you'll be able to focus on the population your program seeks to serve. Can you review campus data or ask institutional research staff to help you to see what the outcomes were for first-time in-college students, Pell-eligible students, or something else that will closely resemble the students your program serves? Ultimately, you'll want to set a benchmark for each of the key data components your program collects and monitors. Here, you can see an example from a holistic coaching program that includes goals for orientation, engagement with an advisor, and enrollment intensity. The report is color-coded to help staff focus on goals that were achieved and goals that were missed, so they can learn from both. The last step is to build routines to collect and learn from data throughout the year. Let's start by taking a look at how staff can use student-level data. At the heart of it all, you need your data to be actionable. What's the point of collecting data if you aren't going to use them? Since we know that real-time data about individual students can be time-consuming for staff to keep updated and to prioritize quality and relevance over quantity. If the data is not central to your program, it's probably not worth building into a daily data management routine. Returning to the example of a program where students are required to meet twice a month with their coaches, it makes sense for program staff to track the students' coaching session attendance and how often coaches are reaching out to students. These are the kinds of easy-to-update data that staff can use to manage their time well and answer questions like, who haven't I seen yet, and how should I reach out to them? What do you see when you look at this detailed table? What action steps might you take? If this was your caseload of students, you might target your outreach at Dakari, Lynn, and Ibrahim because they didn't meet their 2-session requirement in October. Looking at data at this granular level allows you to make specific decisions based on a student's situation. For instance, maybe you know that Lynn is normally engaged and responsive, but had a family emergency last month and just couldn't quite squeeze in that second session. This understanding might change the way you reach out to her. Student-level data use enables program staff to support students more effectively and meet them where they are. Aggregate data use helps program teams to see larger patterns in areas for program improvement. For example, what does this bar chart reveal to you? This is the same data, but summarized and presented graphically. Here, the data are aggregated to show how many students met with their coach 0 times, once, twice, and so on. What catches your attention here? How does that differ from the student level table? This kind of chart can show your team's weekly progress towards hitting a monthly benchmark and where specific members of the team might need extra support to get there. In an ideal world, your data system will allow staff to drill down to student-level information easily. For example, having the ability to switch back and forth between aggregated data and the student-level report would help you figure out where specific members of your team should focus their time. Once you have a couple of months to compare, your team can see patterns over time that can inform future program improvements. For example, your team may notice that student engagement dipped in April and May. So your team may ask students to share more about their experience in those months to brainstorm ways to boost engagement in the future. Over time, aggregate monthly data into semester reports, which should include the primary outcome metrics for your program. Monthly and semesterly reports can be powerful tools for advancing equity goals. Disaggregating monthly and semesterly reports by key student characteristics like race and ethnicity or Pell Grant recipient status, for example, will help your program team determine the extent to which it is equitably serving historically marginalized groups and discover blind spots to address. These reports also help teams explore many other program improvement questions. For example, how does this current report compare to your expectations or benchmarks? If the results were worse than expected, what should be changed? If the results were better, what worked particularly well, and how can you build on that? Do you need to gather more information about an outcome or pattern that surprised or puzzled your team? Focus groups with students or interviews with staff or faculty members could help you uncover the more nuanced story behind those numbers. With staff juggling numerous responsibilities, sending out reports via email and counting on individuals to review them alone is a great way to ensure that reports will be ignored. Instead, it's best to schedule a recurring monthly or bi-monthly meeting in which the only item on the agenda is the report. The team talks through the trends, discusses challenges and successes, brainstorms new interventions, and agrees on a path forward. The data are the focus, but the actual result will be a discussion of how to improve the program.